SGA a slow start to Game 5, but then 17 trips to the free throw line, made 16 of them. The reigning two-time MVP finished with 32 and 9 assists, tying the OKC postseason record for most 30.5 dime games. The Thunder bench once again had a major impact. Alex Caruso, his second 20-point game this series. This after being held scoreless in Game 4. Cason Wallace had a team-best plus 29 in 31 minutes. Kenrich Williams gave good minutes. And then, great as he's been, Wemby was not a factor. 4 of 15 shooting, worst performance of his playoff career. And he struggled defensively as well. Thunder players shot 11 of 16 with Wemby as the primary defender. Chiney Ogwumike joins us now here on SportsCenter. And Chiney, I think it's safe to say that performance weighed on Wemby Tuesday night. He violated the NBA's media rules, skipped out on speaking to reporters, which is not a felony, but it is a requirement of the job, and the league did issue a warning. What's your take here?
Well, one of my favorite personal sayings is you have to go through it to get to it. And we have seen Victor Wembanyama go through it for better and for worse in this NBA playoffs. Just as we've seen the high highs, the big wins, the averaging 30 while shooting 50% from the floor and 40% from three, we have also seen the low lows, the elbows, or, as you mentioned, not being available for the media. And I'm not going to overreact to the last one, the latter, because missing media is not egregious as a first-time offender, but moving forward, our antennas are up. Because one thing that Wemby said that I loved earlier in the year is that he will never hide his emotions when he's playing. We have seen them all. Now, two things can be true, Kevin. Victor Wembanyama, is a sensational alien talent. He's ahead of his time. But he is also just 22 years old, and he's also learning on the fly. So I'm not overreacting, but he will have to learn from this experience very fast.
Go through it to get to it. And, of course, it's a one-game season now for San Antonio. Win or it's over. So, today, what must the Spurs do in Game 6 to force that Game 7?
Kevin, you remember those tests? It's like select A, B, C, or D on a Scantron, and D is all of the above.
Yes.
For the Spurs, they're going to have to do all of the above. They have to select all of them because, one, Victor Wembanyama pretty much needs to go nuclear. His back is against the wall. He will need to go off and be the dominant guy that we have seen in those wins. Two, he will need to get some help because De'Aaron Fox had 9 points. Devin Vassell had 6 points. Dylan Harper had 5 points. You can't have that low-level production from the supporting cast going up against a Thunder squad that is giving you 50 points per game, over 50 off the bench. See, they're going to have to pick a lane. Pick a lane. Either you let SGA defensively go off and hold down everyone else, or you let other people go off like we saw in Game 1, like Alex Caruso, and hold down the back-to-back MVP. They have to pick a lane, a strategy. They're going to have to do all of the above in order to extend the series.
D, all of the above. San Antonio is 2-0 and trailing in a series. This postseason Game 6 is Thursday night. And then, Chiney, in other news, Adam Silver appeared on the Pat McAfee primetime State of Sports. He was asked about the rising concern over flopping. Here is what Silver and Pacers
are better against the San Antonio Spurs than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, at the beginning of the season, I picked the Oklahoma City Thunder to meet the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals and ultimately beat them. My emotions have taken over, no doubt. And I'm going down with the ship, damn it. If the Oklahoma City Thunder victors over San Antonio in Game 5 last night in Oklahoma City would have faced the New York Knicks, I'm going down with the ship. I'm not picking against my New York Knicks. I'm just not doing it. I can't do it. I can't do it. But I'm not blind. And the reigning defending NBA champions are that for a reason. Playing without J-Dub, Jalen Williams, an all-star caliber player, an all-star caliber defensive player, by the way. Combined with playing without A.J. Mitchell. 2 elite guards in this game as far as I'm concerned. Oklahoma City still went home for Game 5 and handled the San Antonio Spurs. You could point to Isaiah Hartenstein dropping 12 points and 15 rebounds. And a tremendous defense that he's put on Victor Wembanyama in his face, being physical with him all the time. You can point Chet Holmgren showing up for a change, hitting 6 of his 9 shots, finishing with 16 points and 11 rebounds, and playing the kind of game he was capable of playing, and we all know he's capable of playing. But I'm going to look at Jared McCain. Traded from Philadelphia earlier this year, coming off the bench, inserted into the start lineup, played a big-time game as far as I'm concerned, and Alex Caruso, of course. You understand, Mr. Reliable, showing up on both ends of the floor defensively, offensively, and being a rough rider that he is and playing the way that he's capable of playing. You look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they're just loaded with guards. I didn't even bring up the reigning 2-time league MVP, who's the star of the team, who also happens to be the point guard, and he's 6'7". His name is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, dropping 32 points. When you look at the San Antonio Spurs and you compare them to the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though I do believe San Antonio will win Game 6 and they will force a Game 7 because I think that Wembanyama has one more game in him where he's just otherworldly and they're going to be galvanized by their home crowd, which means that the role players are going to feed off of that, which means Vassell and Castle or Vassell rather than Castle and De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper and these boys and this guy Johnson, Keldon Johnson, their 6th man of the year. I mean, these guys can play in San Antonio. They've got championships in their future. Make no mistake about it. I just didn't think this year was the year, and I stand on that because I picked OKC to win this series of 7 games before it began, and I'm sticking to that position. If San Antonio comes back and shocks everybody and beats them over the next 2 games and knocks off the reigning defending NBA champions, props to them. But Wemby looked beaten last night. I'm talking about physically. You know, he's 235 pounds for sure, but he's 7'5". He's rail thin. And putting a body on him seems to have an effect on him. At least in this series against Isaiah Hartenstein. What he did in Game 1 when he dropped 41 points and 24 rebounds, he has not done since because Mark Daigneault, the coach, who's an outstanding coach, shifted things up. And what he did was made sure that in shifting things up, he put a big body like Hartenstein on him. It was physical. We know what Hartenstein could do because he was a New York Knick before he signed with Oklahoma City for $87 million. We know what Hartenstein is. We know what he could do. We know what he brings to the table. Okay? And he's doing it with Wemby. So when I look at the New York Knicks and I think about the San Antonio Spurs, I see a young team, but a team nevertheless that has not been there before, has not been in this position before, that can appear a bit rattled from time to time, that just doesn't seem to have it at times. And I think about the in-season tournament, even though it was the regular season, and I think about Wemby, who was on a minutes restriction, coming off an injury. And I understand that the San Antonio Spurs then are not the San Antonio Spurs now, but I think the way that the New York Knicks are playing, the way that Karl Anthony Towns is playing, the way that Mikal Bridges has been playing, which has been outstanding, the way OG Anunoby has been playing, the way Josh Hart being that Energizer Bunny and that Rough Rider, and he's been playing, the way Landry Shamet and McBride and these boys come off the bench doing what they're doing, and Mitchell Robinson. I do think that the New York Knicks, led by the great Jalen Brunson, can really, really do some harm. And their experience and the savviness of a Brunson and others could really spell problems for the San Antonio Spurs. When I think about Oklahoma City, this brother Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ladies and gentlemen, he's just special. He's just special. And the thing about him is that he doesn't get rattled. It's nothing to him. Home crowds, noise, hostile environments, cheers at home. It doesn't matter to him. He doesn't care. It means nothing to him. It's like I keep going back to when I was doing NBA Countdown for ESPN last year. And we had to cover the Western Conference Finals. And we were covering the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we watched Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I keep remembering a game in which they just ended up losing they were down by about 44 points. Okay? They were down by about 44 points. And the crowd in Minnesota was going crazy. And they took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off the court. And he just smiled and clapped. It didn't faze him one bit. And he just let them know they had lost that game by 42, 143 to 101. That was the score. Game 3. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just clapped and smiled while walking off the basketball court. He had 14 points that game on 4 of 13 shooting. And they were getting destroyed by Minnesota. And he just clapped and looked at the crowd and said, "I'll see y'all next game." And the very next game, they won. It was a thriller. They only won by 2, but they won the game. And then closed out Game 5 by beating Minnesota by 30. That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's who he is. That's who he's proven to be. And when I think about the one person that can do to the New York Knicks what Jalen Brunson does to his opponents, I think of that person being Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Completely, utterly, and totally unfazed by the moment. And he's just going to come at you and just do what he does. You might get the better of him 1 or even 2 games, but in the end, his attitude is, I'm going to be the one standing. This is a man that people sit up there and lament because he draws fouls or whatever. They keep forgetting his savviness, his knowledge of the game, his basketball IQ, his ball handling ability. He's missed the mid-range. Plus, he could hit a 3. Plus, he could finish at the basket. Plus, he could finish on the break. Plus, he could hit free throws. And oh, by the way, he's not a shabby defender. And they're ignoring this. And they're ignoring the fact that a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, ladies and gentlemen, he's averaged over 30 the last 4 straight years. I want you to put that in perspective. And he's done things statistically during the regular season and during the postseason that only Michael Jeffrey Jordan has done. That's who Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is. It ain't always pretty. It ain't always fan-friendly. But you talk about getting the job done. That's who he is, man. That's who he is. That's who he cares to be. That's who Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is all about. If there was ever the potential for a kryptonite to what Jalen Brunson brings to the table for the New York Knicks, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And when you look at the San Antonio Spurs and the rest of them, and you see a Stephon Castle and a Vassell and all of these guys and the potential for foul trouble and all of this other stuff going on, look at Oklahoma City. There's Alex Caruso. I'm talking about as defenders. There's Lou Dort. There's Alex Caruso. There's Kaysen Wallace. There's A.J. Mitchell. There's Jarrett McCain. With Shai. Potentially with J-Dub coming back. Jalen Williams. Him and A.J. Mitchell are out for these finals the last few games, couple of games because of hamstring and calf injuries respectively. I mean, I just named you 7 guards. 7. All of whom you're capable of throwing fresh legs, fresh body at Jalen Brunson. Thank God the New York Knicks, come finals time, June 3rd, will have played only 4 games in 23 days. Because, boy, are they going to need their rest.